Okay. We're live for any questions. So just pointing everyone, just getting this project working session kicked off and pointing everyone to some key documents I put in here for the project. So 2 of them, one's a walkthrough guide, which gives a step-by-step walkthrough of the different phases within the project. It should give you some, as saying last week, should give you some breadcrumbs on like the step-by-step process of doing this project from start to finish. So it starts with data collection. Step 2 is creating that initial script like we did in homework 1 to connect to the REST API and put that JSON file in the data lake. Step 3 was to configure Azure storage. So you'll do 2 and 3 at the same time. So 2 is just your script to connect to Live CoinWatch. You can run that in Synapse Analytics. Step 3 is to configure your data lake storage. And we did that the first class, so you likely have it already set up. If you don't, this will give you some steps to do that. Let's see, configure. Well, you have to do that first, and then you could put this part of it in your code. So if you implement that, you should be able to store your JSON response inside of the data lake that you created. And then testing your data collection setup. So making sure that you can get 90 days of history and that the data is set up correctly, fixing any issues with data retrieval storage. So parts 1 through 3 are really just getting connected to the API, creating your script, setting up storage, and making sure you can store your file there when you run your Python code. Then phase 2 is creating your pipeline. So step 1 is creating the SQL pool tables. So that's also in Synapse Analytics. You have what's called an on-demand pool that works like a Microsoft SQL database where you can create these tables. I've given you some code here. For the overview, the market overview historical file for a table to be able to store that information in a SQL database. Second step of that is then taking that JSON file that you stored and loading that data into the table. So that way you have it in a tabular format stored so that you can start doing your different summaries or transformations that you need to start getting it ready for building your machine learning model. So there's a pipeline. It can be a very simple pipeline. This is where the video on Azure Data Factory may help you out. Just a simple pipeline that takes your JSON file and maps it to the SQL table, the fields in the SQL table. What's good is you don't have to do all the parsing of the JSON file. What Data Factory will do within Synapse it will kind of it'll parse the JSON file itself and then try to intelligently figure out what those connections would be. Then the third part is implementing scheduling and orchestrating. So say you want to run it every hour. This has to run daily. So setting it up to run daily. And then getting new data and then appending that to your existing results. So once you have that table in place and you have that process going, then you can connect that table into Dataiku. And then that'll be similar to the walkthrough that we did in class 6. So you create a new project, you connect to that table in your Synapse SQL pool, And then you could do some cleanup. You're importing that data so that you can start doing feature engineering and any cleanup that you need. Maybe any misvalues or outliers that you need to fix. And then you can save that prepared data set, build your model in Dataiku through the visual recipe that we did in class 6 also. We're trying to predict 7 days in the future. So we have a couple of target variables here that you create through feature engineering. You're going to train multiple model types. So it has AutoML, so it's going to try each one of these. And then you can evaluate the models, probably a lot like you did in your model evaluation classes, if you took that class. If not, feel free to reach out for help. I can guide you through the process of this model building and model evaluation. Don't want you to get hung up on that because we're engineers, so usually the data scientists would build these models. But it helps to go through the process at some point. Once you've built the model and you find the best model, then you're doing model deployment. So you take that best model and deploy it as an API service. We also did that in the walkthrough video for class 6. So we can do that. We can configure our input variables and deploy the service and test it. And then phase 4 is visualizing and monitoring. So I won't ask you to do dashboards in Power BI. It's doing dashboards within Dataiku. It has some capabilities to create dashboards there. And then you can just store the results of the model and then measure its performance. And then run these over time. And then make sure that the predictions continue to be good. And then it has set up monitoring. We really didn't cover that piece of it. So model performance and modeling. So these can just also be dashboards too. They don't have to necessarily be an alert. Just a dashboard that shows how your model is doing and being able to track any related issues. So that's it for the project. That's like your end-to-end. That's your end-to-end project. That's your end-to-end data pipeline, starting from obtaining the data from REST API, ingesting it, then getting it into data lake, loading it into data lake, where you can ingest it into your SQL data warehouse table, and then use that for model building within Dataiku. I think that was I hadn't gone through that process in detail, but if you get lost in this project, this walkthrough guide is like really a good step. And then if some part of it just doesn't make sense or you get stuck on any one of these steps, like please let me know. Because we didn't cover a couple of these in very much detail at all. The other document, the class project document, this is the high level overview. So it has like your main steps, your data collection, your data processing and Synapse pipelines, your model development in Dataiku, and then deployment as an API service, and then visualizing and monitoring. So it really follows that. If you remember the crisp DM process that we went through, covered a lot in this class, but I mentioned it at the beginning of class 6. This is really like a continuous and iterative process. You gather data, create the pipeline, and you're kind of automating the data gathering there. Create and update your model, and then you continue to monitor it, and then you just keep doing this over and over again. And that's what data engineering is all about. And if you find that you're having trouble like running this on a schedule, that's fine. you don't worry about it too much. Just do the best in this project as you can. I saw Nancy, she asked about specific grading criteria. This is what I'll use as my grading criteria. Let's see. Let me look at your specific question though. Whether like there's a certain threshold for pass or no pass. I would think of it as like this class is like grading on a scale. You'll just see how we do and hold on. Let me bring up your specific question, Gene. Was it maybe it's in the data engineering? I'll ask your question for how it's going to be graded, Gene.
My question was, what % was the final project versus the final exam? What were they both worth again? I know you posted that somewhere, but I don't remember where.
Yeah, I changed it a little bit here too based on the homework. So let me pull up the class syllabus. So just off the top of my head, just thinking about it, 20% will be quizzes. 40% will be final exam, and then 40% will be final project. But let me see what I actually put here. And we're replacing the homeworks with the final exam too. Did I not have this? Okay, this is the most recent version of it. It did say pass, no pass. I didn't really put a percentage on it as far as what percentage is. I did say it's more of a pass-fail basis. And that's really it's relative to how everybody does in the class. And it's kind of flimsy, but roughly I'll take a look at the quizzes and evaluate that at 20%, assignments at 40%. Like since we didn't have assignments, the final project at 40% and then an exam at 40%, I give it equal weight with quizzes being a little bit less. So it's more of like, at this point, I don't have like specific grades for each homework that are pass, no pass. But everybody who's taken the quiz, they pass those quizzes. And then it just looks off the top of my head that pretty much more or less everybody's going to pass the final exam too from their grades. Everybody submitted it and the grades look pretty good. I just need to go back and review it and then giving you feedback on the final exam. And then like my recommendation for pass, or sometimes I give students a pass, but I'd recommend that they would maybe cover some materials or even take the class again. Or if they just aren't able to maybe do anything on the final project, it'd be a fail. Gene, does that help at all? I know it's not how I like it cut and dry, but that's how I'm looking at the class with it being a new class.
Yep, that was helpful. Thanks.
Mostly it's giving you feedback and then making sure that you feel like you learned the material that you needed and have the skills that you needed out of it to take that to your job or take that to whatever you're doing next, however you're applying your skills next. That's why the final project's important. Is this class it's a little bit light on hands-on and technical skills. I think that's going to change in the future. Now that I'm teaching data engineering class, I'm going to teach a data engineering class. That's going to be more about the principles of data engineering instead of including it in this class. So the data engineering would be like a prerequisite to this, and this will be more of a technical skills class. But for now, it kind of combines both. But the final project is kind of like the evaluation of now, having taken the classes, do you have the skills that you feel that you need to be able to at least, I say with the data engineer, like the knowledge is power, at least have enough knowledge or a start on like building on top of those skills, these skills that you need for a workplace or whatever you do with the skills next. St. Jean, does that help at all?
Yep. Yep. Thank you.
It's probably at this point a little more qualitative than quantitative, like exact, like percentages and things like that.
Oh, Jeremy, are you able to
else
hear me?
has questions about it or concerns, let me know. Almost everybody who puts in the effort and asks questions be okay through it. Then I give you my recommendation at the end. Maybe some additional things to take a look at or skills to add. Okay. Gene, I can't hear you. Did I mute or maybe it is? Oh, I see. That's where I got it. Your feedback was in here. I was looking for it in Slack. Yeah, eventually after a few iterations, need to get it down to percentages. The SQL class is a little bit easier to do that with right now. And having like baselines, especially after now a bunch of students have taken it. I've been teaching that class since 2019. So I have a pretty good idea what the baseline is for it. So I have a pretty good idea of like the homeworks are pretty well set and like how students in the past have done on it and where students should be. It is due, sorry, ate another cracker. Right in the middle of it. Sunday at midnight is when it's due. And the other thing I wanted to show everyone is I do have all the walkthroughs and videos available. So this is where I might have been cutting out when I was talking about it. Right before you came over. But now all the hands-on exercises for each class are here all the way from setup, and then the second class working with Box API, class 3, class 4. So your storage, your data lake, your processing, Synapse pipelines, so Synapse Analytics, and then Data IQ, along with videos. So if anybody, once again, if anybody's not able to access these videos, let me know if these shared links don't work. Especially that class 6 video that we did last Wednesday, it would have been. It's a pretty good walkthrough of how to use Data IQ from start to finish, how to import a data set, and then walking through the visual pipeline, and then how you build a model and then deploy it as an API. These other things will help you out with things like how to use Synapse Analytics to connect to the REST API. And then, let's see, class 4 does that. Class 5 is also the same. Oh, and the 4 is different because this takes a JSON file in class 4 and loads it into the table, whereas this will connect to your REST API where you can schedule it and continue to get new information out of it. So for some reason at the end of the project, you can't get this schedule, like a repeating process, and this part doesn't work. If we go through all the steps and you're able to build a model and deploy it, even if the automation doesn't fully work, I would consider that to be a success. They pass the final project. Then class 3 was class 3. Yeah, the serverless SQL to be able to connect to that JSON file or CSV file that's in the data lake to be able to explore it and tell a little bit about the data. Class 2 was working with the Box API. And then class 1 was set up. They have videos for all of them now except for class 1, which I think everybody should be set up with what you need as far as Azure and setting up a resource group with the only resources you need is your data lake, your Gen 2 data lake, and Synapse Analytics for this class. Then the SQL database is within Synapse Analytics. And then I have Data IQ set up for everyone. If anyone needed a reminder how to connect to Synapse Analytics, Data IQ, I'll put that in here real quick. I know 1 or 2 people were out while we were going through it on Thursday. So here is the login. Put this in Slack. So that one I just put in Slack, that will get you to the login page for Data IQ. And username and password is admin and admin. Not very secret because I just set up an admin account, which you can then go into Data IQ. And you should see a workspace with your name on it. You'll say it's not that secure a password, but that's okay. We just have it set up, and then you have your own workspaces or projects in here. I should say that instead of workspaces. And you'll have one with your emails inside of the student project students folder where you can create these resources. So if you wanted to see how I built mine, it's also in there. It gives you an example of how I did it, and you could use it. It should give you some help on how you could build the pipeline also. I think that's about everything. One of the things I was just taking a look at, just a note for everybody, just a reminder, when you're inside of Synapse Analytics, we'll go to portal.azure.com. I'm just going to skip to it this time, or Synapse Analytics resource. Now instead of using Databricks in Python notebooks and Databricks, we're using it in Synapse Analytics. So you can do that. You can go to develop. And then you can create these different notebooks. And I did like a DL fat coin history. I'm just in this one, I'm just getting this CSV file from the data lake and exploring it. But you can create all of your Python code in these to connect to the REST API and save that JSON file in the data lake here in these notebooks. And one of the notes is don't forget to set up a pool. So if you go to, because you need a compute pool to be able to use Spark, like we did with Databricks, and I ran into a bunch of problems. Much easier to do in Synapse Analytics. So you can go to manage pools and you can hit new and create a name for your pool. And then it becomes very easy. You could choose the smallest cores and number of nodes and everything. And you can review and create. So I already created one. I won't do that. I created an ODSA Spark JB. And then when you go into this notebook, it will give you a little note here that says attach like Spark, your Spark compute. And then if you have one set up, you can just select that and then run your code. It'll take a second for it to start up. And as long as you have like this pool connected, this compute connected, you can run this code and it'll give you a result. It takes longer to start it up than it does to run it. Okay. Let's see. One other thing I could point everyone to is this, we really didn't cover it in class very much. We did cover the idea of pipelines, but we didn't cover it really in any depth. So when you're creating a pipeline in Synapse Analytics, you'll go to this integrate and you can hit the plus sign, add resource, and then you have pipeline. And this is where you have a few different options. The one that you'll do here is the move and transform and then copy data. As we want to copy that JSON file into that table in Synapse Analytics. So you can select your source data set. It'll give you like a new integration data set. So you always, in data engineering or working with data, you're always thinking of your source data set to your target data set. So your source data set will be your JSON file. Your target data set will be that Azure SQL database. So let's go to file here. It's not in file. Let's just go ahead and search for Gen 2 data lake. No? Gen 2 data lake. So if you're setting up a new data source, you can set up a Gen 2 data lake data source. The format that we want is JSON because that's the response that we're receiving back from the live coin watch API. So we requested, I think it's actually a put request to get the overall market cap history, and then it returns a JSON file that you store. So you could call this whatever you want, maybe give it a more descriptive name, data lake, JSON, coin, market, watch. That's not the name of it. That's the other one I look at, live coin watch. Overview history, overall history. Give it some descriptive name to let you know, tell you what it is. And then you'll want to create a link service. So the service will connect your pipeline to Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2. So with all this, let's just use all of the defaults. And your Azure subscription is the one that you set up at the beginning of class. It'd be something like ODSA or what we did when you registered your credit card. Storage name, that would be the storage name that we gave our Gen 2 data lake. And then we can test the connection. So now we know this pipeline's connected to data lake. Okay. And now that it's connected to the data lake, this will look familiar. We created our link service that links our pipeline to the Azure Data Lake storage. And this will look familiar now. This is just our file path. And then the name of the file that we want to connect to. And we can import the schema. We'll want to import the schema from connection store. And then we want to select a path. Remember, these are the 3 folders that we created in our data lake. It's in crypto data. I actually forgot where I stored my JSON file. There we go. This is where I stored it. You may have stored it in a different spot. But you can connect to, if it's a Bitcoin, you could do that. Yours will be the overall market cap. You could do the advanced, but this should be okay. So the pipeline will take this JSON file and try to work on the interpretation or parsing it to be able to get it into a working data set that you can load into a relational database table or tabular table. Okay, so we have our source data set. You can even preview this data. Looks like that JSON file doesn't have anything in it, but I assume that it did. You could set up a new sync data set. To your Azure Synapse Analytics database. This will be that serverless pool. And you could use this default workspace one, or you can create a new one. So Azure Synapse Analytics, your subscription, your server name, Synapse Analytics server name, your Synapse workspace. Username and password. You need to go back and set up. Set up the SQL on-demand pool. Okay. So that's how you would do it once you have that database set up. So let's go ahead. That serverless pool set up. So let's go ahead and set up serverless database. Go back to home. Let's go to data. That's not it either. One second. I'm pretty sure that it's already set up. Oh, okay. So one thing that we'll have to do is from inside of your resource, the ODSA Synapse Analytics with your initials. I think what we'll want to do is, and we do have a SQL user admin username. So, okay, let's go ahead. You can do it let's go ahead and just do a dedicated SQL pool. Let's set that up. So we could call this ODSA SQL Data Warehouse JB. So we set it on the lowest performance level. So you can set up this not the SQL on demand pool, but the SQL service that's permanent. The name escapes me for this half a second. You can set up a dedicated SQL pool, or you can use this. You can use a serverless SQL endpoint with the SQL admin username as the username and password that we set up when we're setting up the resource. Let's go ahead and give this a try in the pipeline. Okay. So if we did an integrate, we're creating that pipeline. We're just doing a simple copy data from the data lake into the database. So let's try a sync data set with the Synapse Analytics. So you can set up a dedicated pool if you want, if you'd prefer, or you should be able to use that on-demand pool. So I'll just let it have that generic name. Create a new link service. So giving it that username and password, and then the server name would be our Synapse workspace. But then it says no database. From Azure subscription. SQL authentication. What am I missing? Server name. Who need to set up the subscription, server name, no database. Okay. Let's go back one step. Let's use this workspace default SQL server. that one should be our, this one, the Workface default SQL Server. That one should be our on-demand SQL Server, just to verify. You could go look at these settings, qualified domain name. Let's see, ODSA, Synapse, Analytics, JB. So that should match Synapse Analytics. In our resource, ODSA, Synapse Analytics, JB, SQL, Azure Synapse.net. Yep, so I verified that was the SQL on-demand pool. If you choose that SQL Synapse Analytics, you choose that Synapse Analytics default connection, that'll be the default connection to your Synapse Analytics on-demand pool. So that's how you do the pipeline. You set up your source in the data lake, your target, whether you set up the dedicated SQL endpoint or service or serverless endpoint, the on-demand endpoint, that will be your target. And then in the middle, you'll have mapping. So you'll be able to, it will parse a JSON file. You'll see the different variables in there. And then after you've created that table, after you've created the table for the schema that I gave you, in the walkthrough, if you create this table, you could use this as your target, and then you could take those JSON variables that you get out of the JSON file and map them to this table. So I could actually, and then to create that table, you could run that. If you go to develop in SQL script and you use a built-in connection, that'll be your serverless SQL. So you could do new SQL script and then take this SQL code and create that table in your, it won't do it, just copying that, but you can create this table inside of your serverless SQL server. And then you could connect that by pipeline. You can connect the data JSON file into the pipeline in this table that we create within the serverless SQL or your on-demand dedicated SQL or your dedicated SQL warehouse. A little more about that, a little more detailed walkthrough. I did it in the original class. A little more detailed walkthrough of how it'll work is this class 4, where I did a demo video of Azure Data Factory from Gen 2 Data Lake. And in that class, we used MySQL table, but in this one, we'll use the serverless on-demand pool and Synapse Analytics instead. They give you a pretty good idea how to set up that copy utility. And we really say we didn't, given the walkthrough exercises in this class, actually didn't cover it in detail. Otherwise, the other parts of it, like using a notebook and connecting the API and putting that file in the data lake and then building a model off of a data source. We did do those in some detail in this class. Hopefully those walkthroughs help a little bit with some more breadcrumbs for the project. I was talking there for a while, but I wanted to cover something that we really didn't cover too much in class. That's the data processing pipeline portion of the class project. Is what I just described, that JSON data, create the table, create that copy pipeline, try to configure daily scheduling for it so it run by itself on daily basis and update results. Or maybe you could set it for every 15 minutes, whatever you'd like to do. Don't worry too much about logging and error handling. Just notice it when you're working within Synapse pipelines, some of the errors that are created. And for submission, just like usual, just do a Word document or PDF or whatever you can create, whatever document you have available. Google Doc would be okay, with snippets of each one of these main steps and then sub steps within it. Like things like showing that your Synapse Analytics Python notebook successfully connected to the live CoinWatch API and got the data and stored it in the Gen 2 data lake. Oh, Luke, awesome. You set up a Dataiku instance?
Yeah, I did.
Might as well spend those $200 while you still have it.
It wasn't too bad. I got a little confused because there's like a parent level above it, but I was able to.
So if you set up your own instance, no big deal. I just set one up for everyone, so you wouldn't have to configure it, which would run into challenges in this class. It's like none of the sound coming into me now. That might be the case. I'm like, everyone's so quiet all the time. Maybe my laptop hasn't been quite right this whole time. Luke, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you better if I go to this other monitor. Let me try one more thing, like a camera 1, camera 2.
Cool.
Give it another try.
Yeah, I set up a Dataiku instance. Can you hear me any better?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now. Were you talking before? Has everybody been trying to talk to me and I wasn't able to hear?
I was. I mean, I wasn't saying anything super relevant or important. I just I was able to set it up and get into it on my own. It just had like another parent level, but I didn't do that much work or anything. So, and I was trying to figure out, it might have been in the original instructions, but like how to bring this JSON in instead. And so I was kind of getting stuck anyway. So I should probably move to the CSV flow.
I gotcha. Yeah, setting it up yourself is just fine. I just set it up for everyone so we didn't have to worry about configuring any services anymore. But basically what you ended up doing was configuring a virtual machine service, like a Unix or a Linux one that had Dataiku already installed. That's how I did it. It looks like. Just for reference. Not really part of the project, but if you wanted to see how I set this up, it's fairly easy. It's a virtual machine that you can select. And it pretty much does everything for you. So it sets up like your keys, your virtual network, everything that you need for a virtual machine.
I was just using the cloud version, I think, too, like the on the Data IQ cloud hosted one on their .com.
You're using a cloud version, like a desktop version? Maybe
Like,
not.
Well, I'm not anymore. I was just over there. But you can like dataiku.io. It's tapped on.
DIQ. Oh, you were able to use.
Just or maybe it's just the .com. Yeah, I think it's just if you go to the .com and then you do the start building and you just go through there. Well, that's how I did it.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, they have like a cloud instance already built, I bet.
Yeah,
Or
it's just a little
like
bit.
their own demo. Yeah.
Yeah, it just has a different like interface for the first layer, so it was kind of confusing. But yeah, I'll just switch back to your hosted
Yeah.
version.
Don't fall for their sales agents. That's all I would say. Don't let them harass you. They
Yeah.
will with me. That I actually set up mine's a like an enterprise trial that I set up for the class. So they're already bothering me about it. Price I pay for something free. Temporarily free. I guess like 30 days. Anybody questions about class project? Open to any of it. I just wanted to go through that part. So homework, if you done or got most of the way through homework 1, whether or not you did, that would get you through part 1 of this project. Part 2 is what I just described. And part 3 is what we did in Data IQ. And then part 4, I didn't get into it in that demo part, but you can build dashboards in Data IQ. And it's not too difficult. I say that. Oops. I feel like it was in one of those demo videos that I created or I posted, or that was in the lecture slides. Data IQ dashboard example. Short videos. You can have some visualization enhancements. So really what I'm interested in there is just showing how the model then, like visualizing how the model does. And you can do some performance metrics there to compare. I know that you can do that inside there to compare the different models and the one that you chose, and then what features are the most important. And then if you can refresh the data once and then show how that changes. But if you aren't able to do that, that's okay. That'd be some bonus points. That would be as if you got this whole pipeline working and then you got it to refresh with new data, and then you could show it in this dashboard. And if you did that, I consider that you passed with flying colors. So at the very least, if you can get the data JSON format, load that into a table and build a model off it and visualize it, even if you don't have the full automation piece going where you can refresh it from the API. You've at least built that end-to-end pipeline where you could eventually add in the automation. I would consider that good too. And then just showing that you were able to do these steps in that class project, and then with this guide helping you out. Anyone have questions? And just sit here really as you work next hour if you want to work or work through anything. I'd stare at Crystal because she's here. So she gets.
I need to try back so I can. I need to leave a bit early.
I forgot, Crystal, what do you do in Lincoln? What do you do for work?
I just moved there not long ago, so right now I'm just doing contract position of the university system.
Yeah.
It's like the data migration stuff, just helping it proceed.
Data migration. Oh, man. Yeah, the heavy data lifting. I've done that before. It's hard.
It feels like it's endless. It's not finishing at all.
Yeah, the extracts can take forever. Maybe you could use, do they use any cloud platforms to help them out? Or they just, is it all doing it on some server? I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I did data integration. I had to move, one of my career experiences is that I had to move data from like one cloud platform to another. And it just took forever because the only way they would let us feed it in was by REST API. So we had to feed like one table in at a time, and then it'd have an error. Then you have to back it out and like babysit the whole thing and then map all the data. And it was like an old system that was a legacy system that they weren't supporting anymore.
Oh, okay. I think it's something similar that they're doing, but I don't think that's what I'm doing.
So it's a,
Maybe it is, but I'm not just familiar with the terms. Yes.
yeah. No, this class should help you. It should help you out. Hey, you won't be doing models, but you'd be building pipelines for it, for importing data from one, or extracting it from one system and importing it into another. Probably some steps in between, like a data lake or some type of storage. It's hard work. It's tedious work.
It is for sure.
But if you know the systems, that gives you a lot of advantage too. Know how to map the data, understand the system and how it mapped from one data to another. Takes some of that too. Or if you haven't learned about them, being able to learn about them quickly.
It's been a learning experience.
And working with users, that's maybe one of the hardest
Walking
parts.
around.
Users of the systems. When I did it, I was working, it was like a last minute thing. They waited till the very last minute, and people were all upset about their workflows and how they were going to do their jobs and everything. So I was the guy who took like a lot of the blame for it. Like, this workflow is not working the way I expect it to work. When are you going to fix this? And then you have to building trust with people. But if you don't have to do that step, that makes it better or easier at least. Where you always, with these things, with data, you have to work with people a little bit. Systems and people, and understand it. That's a particularly rough one that I did, that they waited to the last minute, possible minute to do it. Then they had to hire a bunch of people.
To finish it?
Yeah, so that they wouldn't lose all their data and their system was shut off, and because they just kept kicking the can until they couldn't do it anymore. They're just like, we'll do this later, because it disrupts business. Like, business kind of has to stop. Well, in this case it had to, but if you came up with a better plan, it probably wouldn't have. But
I think that will happen. It's what happened with the organization of what they just hired temporary people to do it. So it was supposed to be 30 days and then it was extended
it always takes longer than you think
Yeah.
to.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it is just, you just like need more people. You can only do so much in a day of like migrating data and cleaning it up and importing data to another system and figuring it all out.
It's been a learning experience, a great learning experience.
Yeah.
For sure. Just seeing the volume of data.
I think I told myself that after that, if I'd never do it again unless the place had a plan. It's a really hard 6 months of my life. It's a hard job migrating all that data, and kind of stressful when you've been importing something for hours and then it fails.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's just, you just need a lot of manpower, pull the data and clean it up and everything, map it. Good luck. Good luck. Hopefully this helps.
Oh, yeah. It's almost the end of the policy, so I know it's a good break from that.
Anybody else? I was just chatting. Anybody have questions about the project so far? I'll be here through 9:30 today, so I'll be here the next hour and a half. That's going to start taking a look at final exams. I'll just do some of that, reviewing some of these final exams, and if you have questions, just shout them out. Yeah, if you'd like. I'm just leaving it as like an open working session for anyone if you wanted to work on it, but if you don't,
I want to, but it's not a break.
I know I understand.
Because I normally do this at home.
How'd you find Data Science Academy?
Crystal. Fighter?
Yeah.
She was in my third one, because I wasn't in just moved to like get up to it wasn't announced that she was moving on. And then I asked her where she was going, and she mentioned it. And then she knew that I always told her about my interest in data science. That was even way before, because when she mentioned it, I was like, this must be a coincidence or not. And I was like, it's not real.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because a few years ago, I actually enrolled in the master's program at Bellevue University in data science. But then for other circumstances, I had to drop out. It was like in 2020. Then when she said she was coming here, I was like, maybe it's my sign
Yeah,
to pursue it.
that's awesome, like destiny.
Yeah, I was like, because when she said it, my mouth just dropped. I was like, what? No way. Because my dad asked me about it like maybe a few weeks before, because he knew I was interested in it, and he knows the great company. And I was like, I don't know, I'll get back to it one day. And then a few weeks later, the restaurant was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And they do this.
What work did you do before? Is it like a career change or
I
worked with data
started
before?
in healthcare. I went to school to be a dietitian. But senior year, I realized that I did not like it. But still, it was too late to change my career path. I still worked in healthcare, nutrition, and I didn't like it. I went in medical school, I shadowed doctors, I didn't like it. I was like, maybe pharmacy. I worked as a pharmacy tech at UNMC.
Yeah.
Still did not like it at all. I was like, maybe it's not healthcare, I need to change my career. So I tried different jobs, didn't like it, and then I ended up at LinkedIn, which I didn't like what I was doing. And then when they did their layoffs, to me was also my sign to leave, because I really did not like what I was doing. But still, I found out about their apprenticeship program for data science. And I was also talking to a few like engineers there just to learn more about it. So the more they would tell me about it, the more I liked it. And when I signed up for data science, actually, oh my God, I thought about going back to school for my master's. I just did not know what. And then I didn't want it to be in healthcare. And just went to other schools, like other universities, checked their program, master's program, to see which one will resonate the most with me. Some resonate data science did.
Yeah.
But back home, in my home country, because like in high school, we have systems where like it's set up as if like we have minors. So my focus was in math and physics.
Yeah.
So I've always thought that way.
Oh yeah, this working with data will be natural.
Yeah.
For you, I did computer science and mathematics.
Yes. And I guess that's where it started, just math and physics. When I came here, when I graduated high school, when I started college, I also thought about just studying math. But then someone told me that I didn't know better, and I think they did know better even. And they told me that my only option would be to teach high school math and middle school math. And I was like, yeah.
No, math skills translate really well to data or being a programmer because you understand functions and
It was later when I
like inputs and outputs and logic. You understand logical steps. There are a lot of people who have math degrees who end up being programmers or data scientists or data engineers.
Later, like I was like, put up down the rabbit hole of being an actuary or software engineer. But it's never too late. Now I feel like life brought me back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
To what I've always wanted to do.
That's awesome. Wish you the best. Data's a good career, and there are different things that you can do too. An analyst, you can be an analyst or data scientist or data engineer, depending on what you like to do the most. You can be kind of a researcher too. I like that part. So I work as a consultant and do some of that. Do like business insights or inventory optimization and stuff like that. Kind of like find those opportunities in the data. I've pretty much done everything because at some point people needed me to do like everything. Yeah, I went to school in computer science to be a developer. And I didn't know about all this data, but once I knew about data, I did really well in the database classes and my mathematics classes, and I'm really like analysis and research. I'm a scientist at heart. So I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good fit. Then I went to grad school in statistics, and I love that. And then I went into bank finance and started working with data. It's just kind of is a natural transition for me to, with my interest, to go into data.
Because I remember when I was in school, in my program, for some reason, the stats class was required. And I realized that I loved it more than my dietitian classes.
You either love it or
I
really hate it.
I really
You like
loved
get it or you don't.
I loved it. I just thought it was super interesting. Probably was like my favorite class. It was also a good place for me to change my path. Now I'm back to it.
Had a friend, he stayed in college for 7 years because he's about to graduate with a degree, and he got an internship and hated it. He's like, there's no way I'm doing that. But then it took him like another 2 years.
Yeah.
He's there for almost 7, not quite 7.
I just
a little
wanted
over
to get
6.
out of school. I don't want to stay here another year. Because I seriously considered.
He has like 3 degrees.
Hmm?
I think he has like 3 degrees from it. He just kept changing, and he changed at the last minute.
More power to them.
I think he wanted to stay in school too, not get a job.
I mean, I love learning a lot. I really love learning. It's just that school, I don't know, it's maybe not the structure, the way everything is. Just,
That's a good quality for working with data and doing this work too. To learn about a new system or process or technology all the time. Being in techs like that in general, it's always something new and emerging. Now it's AI.
oh. Because I saw you, I know now as like an AI program. There is some development about it, or I went to an event and we had activities.
I think they may have data science at UNO. I'm pretty sure they do actually. Yeah. Their Department of Math and Statistics. But they also have other majors in their College of Information Technology like MIS and different branches of that. Let's see. Find your perfect major. Yeah, I have like informatics. Bachelor of Science in AI now, and Artificial Intelligence and undergraduate. That's new. Bachelor of Computer Science still. Cybersecurity, didn't know about that one. Data Management Certificate. What do they have? Take a look at their Bachelor of Artificial Intelligence. I'd love to go back and learn it. I can't justify going to school anymore.
Learn.
I'm like, I have good skills and I can always learn on my own, but I probably know quite a bit of this too. It's just would formalize my knowledge. I feel once you get to a certain point with your skills, is that it gives you enough to start building off of it. And that's what I hope for out of this class is like you've learned enough that you may not have learned it's impossible to teach everything in 4 weeks, but if you learn enough that you can just, if you're have the mindset and you continue to work and you're a learner, that you just keep building off of it. I'm to the point where I could just pick up a new online class or something or learn something or ask Claude. That's one of my favorite things to do. To learn something from Claude.
I think so far I'm more of a ChatGPT than Claude. I've tried Claude, but I'm so used to ChatGPT. That's also where
I use both. I use ChatGPT for more like conversational stuff or recipes, or and I use Claude for more like problem solving and programming and research stuff. I use Claude a lot for this class, but in general, I use ChatGPT a lot just for like asking about. The other day, my girls and I were asking about like United States presidents, stuff like that. That like describe it, like history questions, or it's more conversational. OpenAI is, or ChatGPT, OpenAI, but ChatGPT.
Ask a bunch of questions and it just answers. Thank you.
I know, I like when they tell me how awesome I am. You're like, Ralph, you're really smart.
You're like,
Like I am.
getting
Right?
into my delusion of ChatGPT.
Sometimes I feel like they water down the results, so that's why I go to Claude once in a while. They try to, if you ask it like a medical question, they'll always say, just go see your doctor. I'm like, no, I'm trying to research this. Like, give me like actual research.
But Claude gives all the answer. I mean, most of the answer.
Sometimes, well, they kind of say go to the doctor, but if you tell it, no, I want more information, then we'll give you more information. Well, didn't mean to keep you, but it's nice to meet you.
Oh, it was nice meeting you too. It was nice meeting you. I was rarely in Omaha because when I was here, I remember my tablet class. I used to come every day. I mean, every time there was classes.
Yeah.
I prefer to be in person. Then when I moved, unless if I'm here for something else also, and then it's on the same day as the course. So today was the only day, which also happened to be the last day. Weird.
Yeah, no problem. I used to have a lot more. I guess I started in like 2018 was my first class. And we had, everybody was doing it coming in person before the pandemic, but then almost everyone went online and haven't really come back in the same way. Well, we didn't really have online like this in Data Science Academy, but it'd be nice to have people who come in. I think there's just a lot of value personally in just like sitting by side, like as someone's doing it, like sitting beside them and helping it. I'd like to propose to Nate Lab doing like labs in these classes in some way. Like the hands-on exercise, like being its almost like its own class.
I think that's what I wrote in my feedback for the exam.
Because I run out of time. Like I talk kind of slow, but
It's just not enough to first process the information because it takes me time to process the information and then put it into.
that's why I started recording videos to try to do that, try to give that more time. But I like to have like a lab or two during the class. And a lot of these online classes, they have like a lab built into it where you like they like on Udemy they'll like do an example and then they give you like a lab assignment and then they give you like an environment and you do it. And then they grade it. It's fancy. I'm not quite there, but
I think that'll be helpful, like more hands-on exercise to
I'm
minus
still
the technical.
fitting a lot into this class. I'm gonna do that more of it in the data engineering class, more of the principles, and make this more of a technical class. Now that I'm teaching the other one too.
Speaking of it, because I signed up for the data engineering, so you are saying that the data engineering, after taking this class, do you make the data engineering class?
I think it's still valuable because it'll be comprehensive overview of like databases and Python programming and pipelines. We'll cover some cloud in it, although you cover more cloud here. What else did I have in it? NoSQL databases. You'll spend like a week on each one. That way, like have a hands-on exercise on each one. And then this one will be more specific to cloud. So like diving deeper into like Spark and pipelines and big data in real time and stuff like that. So taking some of this and moving it there and then like more like big data and machine learning stuff in this class. It'd still be valuable. You'd end up seeing a overlap.
Okay.
You'll be really familiar with the
Okay.
machine learning class I teach in the summer. I think it'd still be valuable.
So I wasn't sure, because I was like, wait, if it's both data engineering, should I take?
Yeah, we'll still learn stuff about relational database, like relational database design and data warehouse design. This still be valuable. I'm fitting a lot into 6 weeks too.
Oh, that one is 6 weeks.
Yeah, I said that we could do a 6-week class. I have it in like 6 different units, 2 classes per unit. So it works out okay.
So I might, if you're the one teaching it, I might see you in that class, because I signed up for it. But I'm still debating if I need to take it or not.
Yeah, I think he'll give you everything from data engineering perspective. This one focused on cloud and API integration and building and deploying model, where that's just part of the data engineer's job, like using the cloud tools along with it. This class will be like everything the data engineer does. It's pretty comprehensive.
Okay, okay,
Except I won't spend a lot of time on cloud because I cover it
okay.
more here.
Yes. All right, well, thanks for it was nice.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Let me know if you have problems or run into anything on this
For sure.
project, and wish you the best.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for coming to visit me.
Oh, yeah, have a great night.
See you, Danielle. Or see you. Crystal. Hey, Luke, I'm still with you. Just hang out and do some grading. I'm around. Work on a few things.
I'm just still working on the web, so just listen.
Yep, no problem. I'm here for a while. Just letting you know I'm still here. Just chatting with Christelle. Interesting.
Jeremy, trying to,
Hey,
trying to get my Synapse Analytics notebook to run here, and I'm getting a available workspace capacity extended message.
all right,
Do you know
let's
what it could be from?
take a look. I'll stop my screen and let you share your screen, Luke. We've ran into a lot of these in this class. Like, seems like it's like when we try to assign the compute resources, like they aren't available for some reason. I wonder if it has to do with like trial.
This is I think my own account here. Like, and I
Here,
tried
I'll add this.
just the like this really lightweight the CSV one that we did yesterday, which this is just the code I left in there, so I don't know why it would be any different.
Worked yesterday, you said?
Yeah, this did, and also the other one.
Looks like you have the compute set up or the cluster set up.
Run the notebook to start.
Available workspace capacity. Do you have more than one cluster set up, Luke? Or is it, do you have,
I think
or is
just
it just that one? So if you drop down that attached to,
one.
yeah, you just have that one and it's small. So that's odd that, and this, so one thing Spark tries to do is assign a number of cores depending on the job.
Mm-hmm.
But this says you have like 0 core vCores available, which is weird. Was that, were you able to run it before you set up your virtual machine? Or did you run it before you set up your virtual machine? Or
I don't think I set up a virtual machine.
oh no, that's right. You said that Data IQ up through their website.
Oh well, I also have Data IQ for just I have yours logged in too. But I with I guess what are you?
No, I was just trying to think if you had anything else that was running that'd be taking up any of those cores.
Oh, I got you. Well,
I was just asking questions out loud. Let me
that makes sense. Let me pull up the.
see if, let me do that. Can you run any of those other notebooks? Just curious, probably not.
No, I'm not able to, but I'll show you here. Let's see.
Let me have that
So if I run
error
this,
and I'll take a quick look.
which this one also ran the other day, and then I'm not sure if I did something to mess it up, but that's what I originally got the error on. And this is just trying to get in a JSON format.
You give me that error at the bottom, Luke.
Yeah, this one.
Available workspace capacity.
I just put it in the chat for you.
Oh, even better.
And here, just to show you, like,
Oh,
when I go into the data storage containers, my raw data, so I have, this is what I ran yesterday and got the JSON, which is what's running
yeah.
and failing on the other one. And then the
And the running job. Okay. Luke, you don't have Databricks still installed, do you?
no.
Okay, you remove that.
And I can double check, but no. This is what I have.
Okay, be more specific. Why would 0 cores be available? Synapse Analytics, the total available cores at any time is calculated. Okay. Tries to dynamically allocate. Can I have you do something here, Luke?
Absolutely.
So if you go back to your portal and then into the Synapse Analytics resource, say there should be a monitoring. There's monitoring, and then there's a, which one of these? It said Apache Spark applications, but I don't see that option here. Any one of these. They're trying to see if there are like any jobs that would be running. How about analytics pools? Go to Apache Spark pools. That's just your pool, isn't it?
Mhm.
I'm trying to see somewhere in here where it would show if there are any other jobs running.
Source scheduler.
Configure instead of. Here's one thing that you could do to look, Luke, we'll come back to it. It should have killed the jobs though, because after a certain amount of time, the session ends. So try to go back to your notebook, have another option.
Okay.
I don't think that there are probably any running jobs. So in your notebook, there's a gear icon,
Okay. Over here.
and you can choose a session size, session timeout. Those session size, dynamically allocate. On that executor size, is there any? I don't think that there's anything smaller. Available session sizes. I think we want to change that. Small. It says small there though.
Yeah,
If you click use there, what does that do?
trying to, doesn't seem to do anything. Try refresh.
So that's small. On the executor size below it.
Oh, sure.
Small. Okay. Can you change the executors where it's 2? Can you change that to anything less? I'm just trying to change this to the smallest, like it says to change it to the smallest session size possible.
Yeah, I can't change. It doesn't seemingly want to change it at all. Can't click on that.
Yeah, it doesn't really let you do anything, does it? Executors, can you change that to anything less?
Change it to 1.
Okay. Try to apply it and run it. I doubt that's gonna make a difference. Who knows though? You're teaching Azure a couple times. I wonder about teaching Google Cloud or AWS here.
I was playing around with it a little bit the other day, the BigQuery stuff, just because I was curious about it.
Yeah.
I kind of ran out of space, but I think it'd be cool to also check that out and see what the difference is, how they relate, and how.
It's like Azure, it is hard to configure things. And you run into these compute issues or weird, like connecting services or integration issues all the time.
Seems like these interfaces, all of them generally, seem like some of the worst work that Microsoft has ever done. It's so bad. Like, I get the idea, useful patterns, but man, some of the over configuration they allow for us is nuts. It's like,
Yeah.
everybody remember all, and it's not like Amazon or Google's any better. They all have trouble.
Yeah, I've used AWS services and it's kind of a lot to navigate through too.
Just
We
like
do.
a few select services aren't too bad. Like I was using Lightsail. It's kind of friendly. It's got a nice interface, and you're still doing kind of things that seem above your pay grade. But yeah, it's different than when you like go into the whatever the authenticate or the the roles that Amazon has. I'm sure that Microsoft's is bad, but
Yeah.
it's
It's like
10,000
Mi-
permissions.
Microsoft's tried to cater to every corporate environment and it's just a huge monster. They're trying to cater for everyone and incorporate it.
Hey, it looks like it worked.
Did that work?
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, it just couldn't allocate. I'm surprised that worked, but you can try to set the session to as minimum as possible so that you can allocate it. You can allocate compute a little more easily.
Yeah.
Sometimes the estimator for this thing goes crazy, even though that's just a simple query. Hard to tell, but that was one of the options it gave me, and surprisingly enough.
So then, would I do the same thing for these then?
Should work that instance. Well, I guess I couldn't guarantee because it always analyzes the code and then tries to configure the right amount of nodes for the job. But it's worth a shot. This one's pretty easy, but your job requested 8 cores that's what I'm saying. It's hard to know why it would request 8 cores for reading a CSV file out of the data lake. Just some more. Let me see something. I think that you can also tell it. I think that you can set it instead of dynamically doing it.
Nope.
Nothing smaller than that.
Available. So that's what's happening, is that the pools are unavailable. And it's just timing. That's basically what it is, right? That this is just shared resources. And that sometimes it fails when they're not available. Or not.
I don't think it is as much with it. Yeah, it can be. If you're on a trial, they may give you less priority too. One of the reasons why mine might work a little bit better is because I have like a paid subscription that I'm using. So I give you like priority to compute. Let's ask Claude. I'm just seeing if I can just set it instead of dynamically allocate it. Yeah, you can do this.
So let you share your screen now. I did fill in this one too. This one was failing. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was working before too.
Total V cores. Yeah, the one helps because here's an explanation of how many V cores are automatically assigned.
So I stopped sharing so you can share if you want.
And just drop it into Slack, Luke. So it says the total number of V cores equals number of executors times V cores per executor plus driver V cores. So the less number of executors you have, the better. And we turned off dynamic allocation. I'm just seeing if he can put some code in the workbook. Okay, it says he can. Here you go. Luke, I have some code for you.
Okay.
Here, I'll just copy and paste this code. Let's get a mess. But can you see that configure code with the 2% signs at the beginning?
Yeah.
It says if you put that in the first cell of your notebook, you can choose the number in each one of those. So you can set it that way programmatically. And I'll give you this formula. This is really painful. I hope nobody else really runs into this. It could be kind of time of day. Maybe it's a busy time of day for just Azure in general, for jobs running.
Now I got a magic. Maybe I put it in the wrong place.
So you can set like a number of executors to 1 with that configure code.
do.
Then maybe driver V code.
I've got this magic procedure. Line. Unexpected character encountered while parsing.
You hold on, I can't hear very well. 1 second. Try it again, Luke.
I'm getting an error on this, but I might need to just configure it better. So what do I need to set here? Executor cores, number of executors.
Here, I didn't actually try it. I'll try it too. Try to see if I can get that code to work in a Spark workbook. Let's see. Gonna get in there right now. Of course, what I found about Claude, it may not always 100% up to date or accurate with current. So I'm loading this up right now to give it a try. Configuration should be a valid JSON response object. Well, mostly is inside of those brackets, curly brackets. Okay, finally got there, notebook. So must contain magic content. So magic must contain content. Only a single percent sign. Mine's running. Just starting an Apache set Spark session. Mine's still going. Yeah, not very super informative on why that isn't available for allocation. Doesn't really give you the why there. Just says this is the reason. My Spark session's taking forever to start up. Could be a sign that things are busy.
Yeah, I suppose probably like, I mean, if I were, I would guess that, you know, evening tasks probably start usually later than this, but maybe not. You know, it's probably outside of normal business hours.
Yeah, if I'm thinking Pacific time, be like 7 Pacific. So yeah, maybe after business hours, start kicking off those jobs at 7.
Yeah, especially if you wanted like end of day numbers close to the end of day so that you could
Yeah.
get morning also and know what happened overnight. I don't know, maybe not, but
Yeah, we usually just, so there weren't conflicts at the places I'd have been, we usually just ran it at like 12:01.
yeah.
Because there's still things that somebody could be logged into a system doing work, or some transaction could still happen. Okay, after all that, mine says usage error, line magic function, configure not found. So I'm just gonna drop this code into Claude. Depend on that way too much. That's possible. Still trying to get this. Finally got that instance going.
There's no history on this, is there? In the notebooks?
You can use Git with the notebooks. We haven't configured it though, so I don't believe so. But if you configure Git, you can.
Makes sense.
Okay. I'm trying to find some information on. It seems to me that configure command.
The thing I found is that it would only work in Jupyter notebooks. Maybe.
What were you saying?
Oh, I did a lookup on that as well, and one of the things I saw said maybe it only works in Jupyter notebooks. But maybe not. You never know.
Okay, yeah, so I got that same error now as you. Should be valid JSON object expression. It is though, or it should be. Alternatively, you can configure it through the Synapse Studio interface. So if you go to manage Apache Spark instances and Apache Spark tools. Is there any configuration we can create that's smaller? Doesn't seem like it. Yeah, when I created it, I just created the smallest instance, and if it can't allocate that,
Okay, so in analytics pools, under Spark applications, Apache Spark applications, there's a better history of the failures that I see in there, which is kind of interesting.
is that in managed or manage that
It's above.
tab?
It's
Oh,
monitor.
monitor. Yeah,
And
it's
then
Apache Spark.
Apache Spark applications is where I saw the interesting thing, or new interesting thing to me, which was like a list of all the failed attempts and also
Let me see yours
one-
here.
here.
Looking
Yeah,
here real quick.
let me find my screen here.
Yeah, that would give you like the logs, the Spark log.
Yeah, so what I was curious about, can you see my screen now? There's this one over here. It's still, it looks like it's still running from the 7th. Right?
At 8:23. Are there any? There wouldn't be any other ones below it or before 24 hours that are still running. Would there?
Stop. If I go to this one.
Yeah, I'd consider just stopping it, trying to stop everything you can. I think you found what I was trying to find earlier, if there are any jobs that were still running.
All right, so that's stock, it looks like. If I look now, does it have anything? So we stopped this one. Now let's see if we can do stuff. It's taking a long time. I have a fair view. There we go. Succeeded. Done deal.
Might have been it.
Could have been. Let's try another one. Let's try another one. Nope. Same error on that one. This one.
It could be if you just have more than one. You have multiple sessions started.
I mean, this one's not running anymore, right? Or do I have to turn it off?
Try it. Yeah, you like once you allocate the compute that it's across all the notebooks. But if you cancel it, that's not like each one of those is taking up its own compute.
Session failed. Run the notebook to start use. Monitor. Yeah, so it looks like now there's another one that's running. But that one's from, oh yeah, that's just from now. So do I have to come cancel this then?
That's weird that those still are on, even when it finishes executing.
Or maybe it was still, maybe that file was still writing actually. This looks like it was. Yeah, something else.
Wonder what's going on if you now if you run the other ones. That's the one that you ran successfully, but it seems like the job keeps running.
Maybe. Well,
Wait,
now it's going to rerun, reboot the thing. Oh, I forgot to publish it. Oh, I'm gonna publish it. So you publish, but there's no history. It's such a weird concept.
yeah, yeah. So if you do publish and you have Git configured, then you publish to the GitHub repository.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's the trigger for that.
And then you could go back. Otherwise, it might have a limited history. But when you publish,
One executor, 4 cores. Done, ready. If I switch to my raw data, I switched the destination, so I was hoping it would appear in raw data crypto, but it doesn't. So it didn't actually put the file where I was hoping.
it's not actually putting it there.
It didn't, no.
I bet there's a stream that is still running, is still open like that.
So it's still running actually the rest of the non-10 rows, do you think?
Yeah, or there's like a stream open, like that Spark read stream is still open. Like it needs like another piece of code to close the stream. Maybe can you go back to your code? Sometimes like these readers, they have like an open stream. That's another thing I just thought of. Maybe that it's still open and it's not allowing the job to complete.
Gotcha. It's Spark UI. It says these things are completed, so I think.
What's up, Luke? I just missed you.
Just trying to figure out what's going on here. Oh, I know what I did. I don't know. Go here. How does it refresh?
Interesting. So it says the Spark read, you don't need to close the stream like other programming languages because the Spark handles that resource management automatically. So that wouldn't be it.
So that's not supposed to cause a problem.
No, nope. You can use this Spark function, spark.stop, when you're completely done with all operations, if that's causing a problem. Hold on. You just put simply use the Spark stop function. Just like I pasted in there. It looks like it does read it, and then if it shows the data frame, and then
Yeah, it must. Wait, but that's just reading.
yeah, it should get rid of it. And I don't know why that job would keep running.
I actually do know what's going on now.
Well, after you make a change, don't forget to publish all.
Oh, yeah.
It does in a way, like if you don't publish, it's just like running the last version of the code. It's like you have to commit it.
That makes sense.
It's like committing it. And then Azure doesn't like explicitly track all the changes because he uses Git for it.
We've got it to
Your
run.
other code, Luke.
What do you say?
So do you still, so before we put that stop in there, is your other code still running?
Okay, question. Let me go check. Yeah, it is. Looks like.
Hmm. There's something about that piece of code that makes it,
See if I get rid of that if it does cause a difference to the name. There we go. That's that.
now what happens if you run that? I'm interested. I bet it runs.
But it will too. Although it might. Sometimes it's been failing on the first attempt because of it. But I bet it will. No, it's- That worked fine. So we got our.
Yes.
And then we can check to see if it's still running. It probably is.
Oh, it still runs even when we put the stop in there? Stop function in there?
Seems like it is. We can see what happens if we run the next one here. Although this one I might have changed the code here and I might have a different bug, but I'm getting the same timeout each time, so I don't even know if it's actually running or if I have a code problem. So I changed one attribute that I thought I needed to change. Is it related to file system? But then I think I may have. Yeah. Let's see if we.
And if you cancel that job and run it,
One to 2 minutes. Cancelled. All right. Let's go back to stop. That one.
let's see if I can find something on this. Why would Apache Spark would why would uh, to address? Okay, so it says even after all the cells you're on, Spark has some things it does behind the scenes that could cause it to continue running some Spark operations like data caching and cleanup and stuff like that. So address this behavior. Okay, manually select stop session. We've kind of been doing that. Configure shorter session timeout. Okay, so instead of Spark stop, they gave me a different function here. Hold on. Yeah, that's a mess when I paste it. It says use this ms spark utils.notebook.exit. Could try that instead of stop. Swear, Luke, that 3/4 of problem solving is just like persistence.
Oh yeah.
It's just like brainstorming a new thought and then beating your head against the wall beating your head against the keyboard. I guess it'd be a better analogy until it works.
So we can find out about that, whether that works in sec. But also, do you know, let's see, which document is this code stemming from? Do you remember? Is this one I read?
What's that?
Oh, I have this ODSA data Luke Armstrong for the file system I added. And it must be configured wrong for it, so it's not uploading the market data correctly. I think I had it right before, but I don't actually remember
Is
what
that like your object, the ODSA data Luke Armstrong?
Yeah, I think it was.
See, did you define that somewhere else in the code? That ODSA data Luke Armstrong? Is that
I think-
anywhere else in your code?
Well, I think I added that because it was giving me an error about whatever it was, the value was there before. Like, I don't know what it's like current file system or something like that. And so I just assumed it was like it might have been, for example, this. I'm not sure. Oh no, it's up here, so that wouldn't have been it. File.
Maybe it comes in as a
Because the raw data.
object. That's working. That code
No.
works.
No, it doesn't work. It worked yesterday once, and so I think I had it right, and then I changed it, but I don't remember where I got the code from, so I gotta
Oops.
find the snippet. The other one I have working works different. I don't- But the good news is that it's getting the data formatted incorrect. It's just not safe.
Yeah, it does still. It does still get the request from the API, the REST API endpoint. It's not giving you an error in that try block.
No, it's just in it. Well, yeah, right here. At the right
Oh yeah, it does. Okay.
So it's,
Yeah, I think it's just something else is supposed to go there. Some other object. The file system. Get file system client. You have that down below too. Get file client. Oh wait, so you have file system client. Get file. That syntax is kind of odd. It's supposed to file system.
Well,
I don't know what that object is supposed to be. The ODSA data Luke Armstrong.
well, that's supposed to be the storage account, but this one doesn't have. So I don't remember.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know what type of object that's supposed to be.
Data lake.
Some type of data, Azure storage.
Yeah, it's a data lake that we set up. So it's a container. So it's supposed to be ODSA data with Armstrong, I think.
Oh yeah, that part. Yeah, I know. It's
It's like, is it the resource group name then? Or because it works, let's see, where I got it from, I think, was I got this snippet, which gets so I use this storage account, and then so the data storage or the data lake that we're writing to the JSON file. Right? Makes sense. Right. I see one. Right. I think I got it figured out.
what's up?
I said I think I got it figured out, maybe.
Yeah, I think you were. Yeah, you got the request and everything. So you were right there on saving the file. Well, I guess saving the file is a little bit different. Getting the right objects there. I lost your screen that you were working on, but
Yeah, I just stopped sharing. I think actually when I was looking at this, probably what I had working yesterday maybe was I think this script has both parts in it, but I think the 90-day part is failing here. And I think what was wrong on this other one is that I'm not specifying the right location to write this to. So it's failing at adding it to the data lake because
Oh yeah, I've seen that error before. I guess that might be right. When I was putting together the code, it said not defined because it couldn't find the location. But that one's not error's not that descriptive. But I came into the same thing that it wasn't the right location.
But this one also has an error, and its error is fetching the historical data, which the other one doesn't have. And if it did, it was trying to write the historical data to the right place. So I think list indices must be integers or slices, not strings. Is the thing to fix this above. Scrap it and clock.